If there was one assignment in trucking capable of testing the operational envelope of any OEM's machine, it would have to be agricultural contracting. It's a relentless seasonal cycle of hard work, with capability and versatility key attributes of both machines and operators. When Ben Brownless decided to add more trucking firepower to the Bay of Plenty operation of Marsh Contracting, his choice resulted in a truck with something extra. Rolling grassland at the base of the Kaimai Ranges in the small urban rural area of Oropi, barely a stone's throw from Tauranga, what a perfect location to rendezvous in the pre-dawn with an agricultural contracting operation. G'day says part owner of the rig and Marsh Contractors operations manager, Ben Brownless, as he appears from the shadows. There are 2 loads of these baleage bales to go to Galatea today, should be good. Ben was studious with the loading of the bales. For the uninitiated, wrap baleage is notorious, with each bale roughly the same yet individual. Ben first checked the bales for water ingress, something that makes the baleage inside go gooey. He then carefully placed them on the deck, pushing each one up tight against its mate. Although the plastic gives the impression of being quite sticky, like a World War II British airman behind bars and coldits, they'll look for any opportunity at all to pop free and bugger off given half the chance. The Scania is just on 18 months old now with 60,000 kilometres on the clock, so there's been plenty of time to ascertain whether the purchase decision was the right one. Yep, no complaints at all so far. It's night and day from the other trucks, Ben says. We looked around before we bought though, but the Scania, being the XT, has that bit extra in terms of clearance underneath and durability. Some of the places we take our trucks are pretty severe. The Scania's even had a couple of experiences being towed in and out of places by tractors, but she's been up to it so far. Underpinning the decision to invest in a front-to-back new truck was the desire to up the ante on the trucking side of the business. Marsh runs 4 trucks, an older Mercedes-Benz, a Mitsubishi, a CF-DAF, and now the new Scania. Until the arrival of the XT, the fleet's core role was to support the harvest and field operations rather than out-and-out trucking services. The other trucks are quite old now, and we wanted to take the trucking to a new level. We couldn't do that with what we had, so we sat down and we made a plan. Availability was one of the big things, and Scania had bought some of these units in as stock items. Our dealer Andrew Lane here in Mount Maunganui said it was pretty much available immediately. I do have to say he was great to work with. He puts no pressure on you, letting us make the decisions the whole way. Now we can actively target transport work with good gear. What we are doing is looking to add value to our existing customers. For example, I can now whip to the mount and grab some palm kernel for clients we service in other areas of the business. We can now also be more effective when it comes time to lend a hand with the agricultural contractors pool. No one has enough gear to cope when the heat's on in the peak of the season, and the ag contracting guys step up and help each other out. The DC13 and the G500 XT is outputting 373 kilowatts, 500 horsepower and 2,550 newton metres, 1,881 pound-foot of torque. Behind the Euro 5 13-litre power unit is Scania's OptiCruise GRS 905R 14-speed AMT, and at the rear of the transmission, a proprietary 21-tonne rated RPB 735 hub reduction diffs with diff lock and at 3.65 to 1 ratio. They're mounted on heavy-duty parabolic leaf springs with shock absorbers and stabilisers, as is the 7.5-tonne rated AMT 600 front axle. Front shoes are big and chunky, 385 65R 22.5s, and holding up the tail end, a 295 80 R22.5s, with all rubber mounted on polished Alcoa alloy wheels. And the whole thing is packed into a compact 4-metre 640 wheelbase. All the advantages of the NTG's big screen and driver position are here. It's a superb setup and the gauges are superbly clear. Trip, telemetrics, driver coach, etc. are in the central data screen mid-binacle, and infotainment switches, climate, tractive effort and brake levers are on the wrap. Steel springs mean the only airbag the driver can adjust is his seat, and few would argue that the NTG has probably one of the best sheds in the business. As you just heard, the truck has strong pedigree, so we seriously recommend you do not base the truck's capability on its modest physical appearance. In an era full of aerodynes, globetrotters and top lines, Ben's G500 XT is akin to a halfback among the props. Until that is, you have a glance at the GCM on the load certificate. 100 tonnes. Yes, it's a nuggety XT, so suffice to say, you're not going to bend it in a hurry. There is a slight weight price to pay for all this robustness though. The tier on the Scania's load certificate is 11,420 kilos, but the XT series is all about longevity and survivability in places such as construction and forestry. In fact, any place where the going gets gritty. It's fair to say we held minor trepidations about what the ride in the XT might offer, considering its all-steel undercarriage and short wheelbase. But Ben must have a sixth sense, because without even prompting he said, "You'll be surprised at the ride." And he was not wrong. We were. When we jumped in mid-trip, we found that the XT rode way better than we expected, with barely an occasional hint that this truck was one that meant business. There was the mild left-right cab thing that all Scanias have, but the fully suspended cab does a remarkable job of bearing the flag of the brand's ride reputation. How do you buy a truck for this line of work? Agricultural contracting is one of those occupations that pushes the boundaries in terms of defining the word utility. To get out of a machine what the Marshes want, they need that variant, one that's built to take on what may, one that's a bit meatier, one that has better clearances, is easy to manoeuvre, won't be damaged by all and sundry dangling down or sticking out in front of it, one that is easy to keep clean and presentable. It must also be quick to operate like a big field tractor, not messing about with changing gears. It must be able to cart off the paddock one day and then rack up 600 kilometres on the highway the next, delivering not just its load of baleage to the customer, but also its owner to the end of the day feeling fresh and fantastic. The real question is, are there such trucks? Well, it appears that Ben Brownless seems to have found one. To catch the full story on Marsh Contracting's new Scania G500 XT, then grab a copy of the July 2021 New Zealand Trucking magazine on sale now. Take care out there and safe roads.